Hello and welcome to another edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Madeline Duback here with Matt Dietrich, and this week we want to talk to you about a couple of different things that have happened this week. First one was an interesting article from Institutional Investor. Do I have that name right?
Yes.
They looked around the country and developed a list of the 40 key players for next year who will have influence and an important voice in solving the nation's pension problems.
These will be the most powerful figures in the country for shaping the pension debate, which is affecting
Everybody.
Private sector and public sector, just about every state.
And of course, as we've been saying for a long time, Illinois is the state with the biggest pension problem and pension liability. And so number one among the 40 was?
Gov.elect Bruce Rauner.
And number 4 on the list of 40 was?
Was Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
So
what that means is that Bruce Rauner right now has the national spotlight on him for how he guides, shapes, reacts to the Illinois pension problem. We've got a $111 billion unfunded liability.
That's the first time I've seen, we keep using $100 billion, that's the first time I've seen it go up that much as of July 1st of this year.
Right.
And it was just about a year ago that the pension reform law was passed and signed into law. And of course that's being challenged and now is supposed to be heard pretty quickly by the state Supreme Court.
Right.
But not until next year.
And it's looking like, but it looks like we will have a decision perhaps sometime in the summer. It's going to be heard in the spring. Now, if that law is tossed out, then it'll be starting over from square one for Bruce Rauner. And then you might see, then he'll have control of the state budget. You might see some leveraging of the state budget through active employee salaries or layoffs or whatever to get to the pension issue. You just don't know, but pretty interesting that of all of the people in the country that they looked at, and this top 40 list, by the way, had not just politicians on it, it had fund managers, had the heads of a couple of very influential unions, it had some top academics, economists.
Some people from the credit rating agencies.
Right. And Bruce Rauner and Rahm Emanuel right up there in the top 5.
Yeah.
So we'll be hearing a lot about this.
Now, the Governor-elect Bruce Rauner has pretty much almost every week, it seems, since the election, been out there kind of sounding the alarm.
Right.
Not specifically about pensions, but about the state's fiscal crisis as a whole.
Let the folks know who are going to fight reform and are in the hip pocket of the special interest groups that like the decline of Illinois, are making their money during the decline of Illinois. We're going to take them on.
So he said that state departments have asked for another $760 million, that they're going to run out of money in the current fiscal year, and they need that much more money to get by because of the gimmicks that were approved by legislators last May.
There's $760 million of what I guess I'm learning the lingo, supplemental appropriations about to be requested. They want to spend a lot more than budget. And what we've learned is these department heads were told to submit some low number in the budget. The budget doesn't really mean anything. Put in a low number. Spend how you want to spend. Don't worry about your budget. And then we'll deal with it after the election. Come on.
The second development that made big news this week related to the Office of Comptroller, which we've talked a lot about in the last week or so. There was a packed memorial service for Judy Baar Topinka, who died suddenly of a stroke a little more than a week ago. And the jockeying and political posturing has been nonstop since then about what to do about replacing her, since she just won re-election to a 4-year term.
Right.
And the latest news is?
The latest news is that Governor Pat Quinn has called a special session of the General Assembly for January 8th. He wants them to vote for to change the state statutes to allow a special election in 2016 at the time of the general election, presidential election, to add an election for a state comptroller that year. This goes directly against what Governor-elect Bruce Rauner wants to do. He says that he believes the Constitution gives him the power to make a 4-year appointment to fill the comptroller's office. He has the backing on that from an opinion by Attorney General Lisa Madigan, who said, yes, that is the way the law is written now. Well, Lisa Madigan added in her opinion that it would be better,
undemocratic,
right, that a governor would make a full 4-year appointment to any elected office, and so she suggested having a special election. But it doesn't sound like Governor-elect Rauner or the Republican leaders in the General Assembly, or for that matter, House Speaker Michael Madigan at this point, are interested in doing any of that.
Lisa Madigan's father.
Correct.
Nonetheless, the governor has put in paperwork for a special session on January 8th, apparently without having his ducks lined up to actually get the votes to approve a special election in 2016. As you noted, Speaker Madigan continues to say that he thinks Governor Quinn and Governor-elect Rauner should work this out.
Mm-hmm.
Governor-elect Rauner's spokesman issued a statement that hinted at a legal battle.
Right. Should they pass a special
An
election,
expensive legal battle.
they would sue over it.
So, underpinning all of this, as it always does, is politics.
Correct.
Democrats think they'd have a pretty good shot at winning a statewide constitutional office, which is traditionally used to groom people for the next job and the next job and the next job during that presidential election year when lots more people turn out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans are fearful of that and like the idea of their Republican governor getting to appoint someone for 4 years and give someone that incumbency.
Mm-hmm. And as of right now, from the noise that we've heard, from what little we've heard from Speaker Madigan, it doesn't sound like he's interested in calling this. The way special sessions work, the governor calls them and the General Assembly is required to go and convene, but the governor can't compel the Senate or the House to call any certain bill or any certain issue. So if you don't have cooperation from the House Speaker or the Senate President,
it's not going to get done.
then it's not going to get done.
Interesting. And the other thing I would just point out is it seems like a lot of editorial boards of newspapers around the state have suggested that this notion that Judy Baar Topinka supported even while she was running for re-election to merge the office of Comptroller and Treasurer, that this is an opportunity to try to start working toward getting that done. Maybe you have a vote on that in 2016 and then you pass a constitutional amendment to make it happen. That doesn't seem to be gaining any traction with the people.
And I think first things first, I think first you need to settle this very political mess.
And it does need to be settled because the comptroller writes the checks that pays everybody who works for government or even private citizens who do work for government.
Right.
All right, so stay tuned on that one. That's it for this week's edition. Thank you for watching. Hope your holidays are wonderful, and we'll see you on the next edition of Only in Illinois.